Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use the code THPN. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt. That's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. Inside this package, you'll find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. We also have dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3 length setting combs, and oh, did I mention, this summer, this trimmer is waterproof too. Beach, lake, or shower, this razor will devour even the strongest pubes. Now that you have the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant, once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 5.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. More wet products? Say no more. Manscaped's new Buff Bundle is all you need to keep the summer heat a breeze. This bundle includes their signature silicone scrubber and body wash. Ditch your nasty loofah and grab a taste of freshness. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind.
You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for hockey talk covering every team in the NHL. New episodes every Monday. Download at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.
What up, Sea of Red? You're listening to Into the Flames, a Calgary Flames fan podcast.
Your home for all things Flames and updates around the NHL.
With your hosts, Raja Burri and Noah Eppelston.
Into the Flames. New episodes every Sunday.
Welcome to the Into the Flames draft show. Bob McKenzie's rankings were posted this morning. I'm going to go through the list 1 through 32, and at least for the top 16, first half of the draft class, we'll get the scouting report coming in from Hadi. We'll sprinkle in that Flames content. Who are we going to take at 9, 28, 41, 62? Who do you want the Flames to take with the first 4 picks in the first 2 rounds? Leave that comment down below. Here we go. So in Bob's final draft ranking, you've got Macklin Celebrini, number 1, Ivan Demidov, number 2, Artem Levshunov, number 3, Anton Silyev coming in at 4th, Caden Lindstrom at 5th, Sam Dickinson at 6th, Zeev Biam 7th, Zane Perek at 8, Consta Helenius at 9, Tisha Ginla at 10, Beckett Seneca at 11, Berkeley Catton at 12, Carter Yakimchuk 13, Cole Iserman 14th, Trevor Connolly at 15, Adam Yursek at 16, Michael Branseg-Nygaard at 17, Liam Greentree 18, Jet Luchenko 19, Stan Stolberg at 20th, Igor Chernyshov at 21, Sasha Boyverst at 22, Cole Bedouin at 23, Michael Hage at 24, Parasak at 25, Emil Hemming at 26th, EJ Emery at 27th, Merrick Vanacker at 28, Dominic Badinka at 29th, Andrew Basha at 30th, Ryder Ritchie at 31, and Sam O'Reilly at 32. Enjoy the show. Feel free to give yourself an introduction, and then we can dive into your guys' round 1 final rankings here.
For sure. So I'm the director of North American Scouting for Dobber Prospects, so I handle our North American side of stuff. That's the entire CHL, the NCAA, the USHL, all the Junior A League, so BCHL, all that good stuff. I handle that kind of side of things. And yeah, this draft's kind of a North American heavy draft. There's a bit more talent on that side. It's quite clear in our first round for sure. But yeah, that's what made this so interesting this year, is especially on the WHL side, there's a bunch of forwards that are kind of in the same glut and same group. So this was a fun draft class to evaluate. And yeah, I also have my own podcast 5 days a week at Locked On NHL Prospects. If you want to check that out, Sebastian and I, we're both the directors of scouting at Albert Prospects, and 5 days a week we bring you some content regarding prospects. So yeah, that's the intro.
Let's go. That's sick. Good intro. We're selecting at 9 and at 28. If you were to straight up, someone comes up to you on the street, who would be the two best Flames picks to take in those two slots?
So in terms of who I would pick, the guys who are likely to be available at 9th overall, probably Berkeley Catton. Berkeley Catton is a fantastic puck carrier. He's one of the best puck carriers, if not the best puck carrier in this draft. In terms of transitioning forwards, like his 3-step acceleration in transition is ridiculous. He'll kind of glide, find a little pocket, then once he gets the puck, he just zips it across an opponent, separates from the forward that's covering him or the defenseman in front of him, and he'll just kind of weave his way through pressure. Great hand-eye coordination, great hands as well. I love his in-stride wrister, which blends so well with the way that he plays, the transition game that he has. The issue with Catton is obviously first and foremost his size. It's not that he's the same height as Macklin Celebrini, minus maybe half an inch. The issue is the frame and the weight distribution. He's a very frail prospect, so he's pretty easy to bump off of the puck when you get to him. The issue is getting to him. He's very hard to contain. But yeah, his in-stride wrister is great. His playmaking is great. He led the entire CHL in points this year, but it was also because he was playing like 30 minutes a night for Spokane, which, that also plays into the fatigue that he showed a bit this year. But yeah, he's just a fantastic puck carrier with great skill. For me, in terms of skill, probably top 3, top 4 prospect in this draft. So taking him at 9 would be a great option. Obviously, if TJ Ginla's there, though, I think he might be their preference. Not just because of the storyline, the kind of fit there in terms of his dad playing for the team, but also just he fits exactly what Calgary's building among their forward core. These kind of energetic, strong forwards who work really well on the forecheck, win pucks back, recycle them. TJ Ginla is the best board player in this draft. So in terms of fit, I think that TJ Ginla would be a fantastic fit as well. Who I think they should pick at 20th overall, a player who I think is almost definitely going to be available there, Andrew Basha, who's been playing in the WHL. He was Caden Lindstrom's line mate for a lot of the year with Medicine Hat. Actually, they played on different lines, they're just teammates. But with Basha, what's so interesting is he went from this checking forward, this really kind of projectable kind of checker, to being a really good playmaker and shooter. And that combination of high floor with that checking ability, that defensive game, that intensity, that energy, and especially that blistering speed that he has. Combination of that gives him a high floor and the ceiling of kind of a second line playmaker / goal scorer. I think that's great value at 28th overall. For me, I don't see a scenario where Basha doesn't end up in the NHL. And at 28, you're starting to run out of these surefire NHLers that could become second liners. Most of the surefire NHLers you get in that range are bottom 6 projections. So Andrew Basha is a good mix of both. And I'm not sure why he's lower on a lot of boards than we have him. We have him at 22nd. And again, he's a player I think who could have gone higher just because of how certain his projection is.
We got the most important Flames question out of the way. Now we're just going to get a quick little word from our sponsor. We're going to go through Bob McKenzie's 1 to 16 rankings with Hadi's scouting report. And then, who should the Flames take in the second round? Stay tuned. The chase for the Stanley Cup continues, and the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is just as hot as it is on the ice. With same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more, don't miss out as the Stanley Cup playoffs wind down. And if you are new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. You must be 21 years of age, and age varies by jurisdiction. This offer is void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/ice for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. Now back to the show.
Macklin Celebrini, obviously at the top, the most complete player from this draft, and probably the most complete player from the last 3 or 4 drafts. His game, I mean, he could slot into a top 6 today and do a good job. 32 goals, 32 assists, and 38 games in the NCAA as the nation's youngest player at that level is ridiculous. He won the Hobey Baker and more than deserved it. He was the best player in the NCAA, in my opinion. Great scorer, great two-way player, great energy level at both ends. His compete level's off the charts, but his bread and butter is the hockey sense. He just understands the game. And when you get a player like that, you can't pass him up at first overall. I'd be absolutely shocked if the San Jose Sharks go in any other direction. And even I hear like Mike Greer just nonchalantly talk about the fact that they're picking Celebrini. So there's no doubt here at 1. Second overall, though, we've got a bit of a contentious one in Ivan Demidov. A lot of people have questions around his game, but he's the best stick handler from the past 5 drafts, and I'm including the likes of Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli and those guys in there. Like, his hands are ridiculous. And it's not just the hands, it's the creativity. It's the way he finds solutions to problems. No one does it like Demidov. He's just so good at weaving through pressure and finding the most complex solutions to problems that you could ever imagine. He does things you'd never expect. And he's pretty good defensively. He's got good work rate. He was recently measured at 6'1", so I think the size issues are a bit overblown. He's a really, really good player, and for me, he's the closest to Pavel Datsyuk we've gone since Pavel Datsyuk. So just that creativity, that inventiveness, like no one does it like him. He's a prospect who does so much well offensively, but the issue with him is he's been stuck in the MHL this season, the entire year. And I think it's because he's already indicated it's not interested in re-signing in the KHL. So kind of as a punishment, he was kind of stuck in the MHL. He was way too good for that level. He scored 2 points a game, just outscored everybody, was the best player by far. Like, he should have been playing KHL minutes. It's ridiculous. And it's so funny to see that used against him because, you know, if he had agreed to an extension, he would have played in KHL, but then the concerns would have been about, oh, well, when is he coming over? You know what I mean? So yeah. I feel like the issues with him are overblown, but I still think that NHL teams are concerned by the Russian factor and will let him slip. I just don't think he's getting past Columbus at 4. I'd be really, really surprised. Artyom Levshinov, who, by the way, I don't think is going to be available past 3. Like, there's no way he's getting past the Blackhawks and the Ducks, who both are looking for right-handed defensemen. But personally, we like Parek and Buyam just a tiny bit more. With Levshinov, what's really interesting is the tools. He's so toolsy. Great range, great skating ability, great stick work defensively, great rush defending. All of his tools are really interesting, and we've grown to like a bit more Levshinov's decision making. It was a big problem at the start of the year. This is a prospect who you need to keep in mind 2 years ago was playing U18 Belarusian hockey. That's not a level that gets you thinking, that gets your brain going. But he's adapted fairly well in with Michigan State this year. Became their best player by the end of the year. And yeah, there's a lot to work with here. I still think there's some decision-making issues to shore up. He gets a bit panicky under pressure, but he's got such a safe floor. This is a surefire NHL defenseman with the upside to be kind of a number 2, shut-down, insulating type of defenseman. So lots of value there. Anton Salayev, 6'7", 210 pounds, and he skates like the wind. It's unfair. Like, it's ridiculous how good this guy is at skating. And he has the upside to be one of the best gap closers and rush defenders in the NHL if he develops well. But he's just so panicky. He's a player who doesn't really do well with pressure at all, which makes us a bit lower on his projection. He doesn't have much in terms of puck skills, doesn't have much in terms of composure. So I see him really kind of as a second pair shutdown D-man who's just going to sweep at the back end. And if you pair him with a more offensive defenseman who's going to go up the ice, you can just stay back there and just sweep anything that comes his way. But I don't see the top pair upside that a lot of people do. And neither does our team. Caden Lindstrom, big, strong, but that's not all there is to his game. He's such a blistering speed type of player. He loves to drop the shoulder, go to the net. But again, that's not all he does. He's got really good inside skill. He's got the ability to play give and goes. He's got great hands, and he's a pest. Like, on the ice, he's a nightmare to play against. He'll barrel through you. He'll kind of cross-check you in the ribs in between whistles. Like, he's got that edge to his game. But off the ice, he's a fantastic person by all regards. So I think NHL teams are going to have him in high esteem. There are quote unquote injury concerns. I think they're overblown. He just had 2 strokes of bad luck this year. Like, he didn't have any major injuries before the season, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Sam Dickinson. And Dickinson, again, could have gone as high as 4. The issue with him is we're not as confident in his hockey sense, but the tools are ridiculous. He's one of the best skaters in this draft. He's big, mobile, physical, great defensively, and he's daring offensively as well. But it's just the reads with him that land him a bit lower on our range. But I'm a big fan of Sam Dickinson's game overall. I think he's going to be a surefire top 4 defenseman in the NHL. Zeev Buyam, he's my sweetheart from this draft. I absolutely love this prospect. He's 5'11", left shot defenseman. I think he was measured at 6 foot at the combine. Really, really, really good defensively. If we're talking about pure defensive awareness, intelligence, hockey sense, he's the best in this draft. He understands the game so well defensively. And he's so clutch. I mean, he didn't score 50 points in 42 games in the NCAA for nothing. He's great offensively. And he was a key player for USA at the World Juniors as their only draft eligible. And as a freshman, he forced his way onto the top pair for Denver and stayed there the entire year, played 26 minutes a night on average as a freshman defenseman, which you never see. And yeah, just clutch ability through the charts. Every finals game I've watched of his, he's been like either the best player or one of the best players. So Zane Parekh, the top defenseman off our board, supremely skilled. I think he could man an NHL power play today, like as constructed today. Everything about his offense works extremely well at the NHL level. It's extremely translatable. These kind of look-off passes, the give and goes, the deception, the manipulation, the way he skates at the blue line, heavy shot, really good hands, and he's not afraid to eat up ice when he's got space in front of him. So he'll take the ice you give him, and he'll create some as well. All season, people have been talking about defensive concerns. I'm not as worried. He's got his brain farts at times. He's not really as consistent defensively as you'd like him to. He's not the strongest either, but he pinches well. He puts a stick in the right lanes, and he's shown a bit more edge, a bit more aggression, a bit more physicality this season, especially in the OHL playoffs when it mattered the most. He dug deep. Konsta Helenius, an average size center, 5'11", 190 pounds, played in the Finnish Liga the entire season against men in a top 6, and was a key part of his team going deep in the playoffs. So clutch, so intelligent. For me, he's the second smartest player in this draft after Celebrini. Understands the game extremely well, great playmaking. But the issue with Helenius is I don't really see that top line upside. I see him as a surefire second line center, but I have a lot of trouble projecting him as any more because he doesn't have standout passing, standout deking, or standout shooting. He's just kind of above average slightly across the board. But you've got a lot to work here with Helenius. Tisha Ginla. And Ginla is a prospect who I think could have ended up as high as 4th overall. That this range of prospects is pretty tight. But I'd be surprised if he's available at 9th overall, but if he's available at 9, I would jump on him if I'm the Flames. Like, he's exactly what the Flames are looking for in terms of a prospect. The best board player in this draft, his ability to get off the boards, to shrug off defenders, to shield the puck and find a play inside of motion off the boards is ridiculous. Fantastic shot. I mean, you don't score like 47 goals in 64 WHL games without a fantastic shot, but he's not just a pure shooter. He's a really good playmaker. His hockey sense is through the roof. His main issue is he's actually too energetic. Like, he'll back check and just overskate a lane fully. So he just needs to learn to like slow down and take his time with the puck and without the puck rather, and kind of hit the right lanes at the right time. But once he incorporates that, which I don't think is an issue, I think he's definitely going to. We're talking about a surefire top 6 forward, which, again, if you pick that up at 9th overall, great value. Roles are so fluid. It's less about center and winger. It's more about F1, F2, F3. And the only difference really with Ginla in terms of whether he plays center or wing is if he's taking faceoffs or not, because his game's not going to change. He's still going to be an energetic forechecker. He's still going to be your F1 kind of, pressuring defensemen, getting them to make mistakes and capitalizing off of them. That's his game. That's always going to be his game. It's just a matter of how long he's going to be playing center, because next year, for sure, it's already confirmed by the Kelowna Rockets and by Tisha Ginla, he's going to be playing center full-time. Then after that, it's just about how good he is in that position, how good he is at face-offs, and whether or not that's kind of projectable to the NHL. I think he can make it. again, because of how fluid and unclear NHL positions are in terms of center versus wing, it's pretty much the same thing. Your center on one line will play the same role as your winger on another. So it's just, Iginla is more of a role player in terms of what he brings to the game. So I wouldn't be too worried about whether he plays at center or wing. Either way, he's going to be extremely effective. Back at Seneca, who made a huge jump in our rankings. He was a player who we saw more as a kind of 18 to 25 prospect throughout the year, but near the end of the season, he took what made him special in flashes and made it a night in, night out recurrence. Like, he went from an awkward teenager in the first half of the season to a full-on wizard in the second half. Like, his stick handling ability, his deking skill is amazing, and he's a real improviser. So he's not a player who plans out a lot of what he does, but he kind of wings it and runs and guns it, and it works. Sometimes it seems like he lucks his way to the slot, but when you watch a bit more closely, you realize that it's not luck. He's really reacting extremely well to what defensemen are giving him. So if a defenseman crosses over towards him, he'll cut across him. If a defenseman backs off and gives him space, he angles right at him and forces the defenseman to make a decision, at which point, again, he reacts. If he shoots through his legs, if he dekes around him, that depends on what's given to him, but the deking skill is ridiculous. He's also a really good pickpocket on the back check. Really smart and aware in terms of how he uses his stick to get back and make plays. So there's a lot to love here with Seneca's game. And even though the top six upside was very much theoretical at the start of the year, it got a lot more concrete and realistic as the year went on. So yeah, Seneca really stood out for us in the later viewings, and especially in the OHL playoffs. Berkeley Catton. Again, best transition player in this draft, at least top two with Celebrini. Great hands, great awareness, great decision-making, great hockey sense. I think his issues are, like I said, size and strength, but also the defensive game, and I'd say also the offensive cycle is a bit of a problem with him, because, again, he gets shrugged off pretty easily, so he can't really work under physical pressure, which will be a concern in the NHL. It isn't right now, but he's got decent upside. Carter Yakimchuk, the Oilers fan stuck in Calgary. I've liked what I've seen from him in the later half of the season. I used to be really, really low on him. We're talking like not even the first round low. But as the seasons went on, I saw a bit more of what I wanted to see from Yakimchuk. He's another player who's a liability defensively most of the time because he gets just way too aggressive. He's taken like 120 penalty minutes this season in the WHL. 2 of those were fights. That gives you a good idea of how aggressive this guy is. Like, it's roughing penalties, cross-checking penalties, all that stuff. He's a really aggressive player off the puck, really violent, but on the puck, he's the smoothest handler in this class. Like, he's got so much, among defensemen at least, he's got so much to his stick handling game that makes it work. And he's not afraid. He's very daring. He'll deke up the entire team. He'll go 1-on-5 if he needs to. He'll go straight to the net, backhand, forehand, top shelf. Like, he's extremely skilled, and I think he can bank on that. He's a very unique defenseman in that sense, where I don't really, like, apart from maybe Brent Burns, I don't see many defensemen who play the way that he does. So it's pretty unique, and he can work with what he has, and he's a freak athlete as well. We're a bit lower on Cole Eiserman than consensus. We have him at 14th overall. The main concerns with Eiserman, I mean, obviously we can talk about the strengths. He's the best goal scorer in this draft, by far. Like, it's not even close. The shot is ridiculous, but also the offensive movement is great. Finds pockets of space really well. And I like his ability to kind of drive the net at times. He's not just a player who stays around the periphery and takes shots from there. He's not afraid to go to the net, park himself there, get on rebounds, which is pretty translatable. The issues have been there all year. He's still very frustrating to watch. Not really a defensive impact at all. He's actually a liability defensively, and he overlooks a lot of passing lanes in favor of shots. So it's just about how much you want to mitigate that risk with his goal-scoring ability. I don't think working on his defense is going to do much, but if you can make him into one of the best goal scorers in the league, play him in the top 6 and put him there full-time, he could score you 40, 50, 55 goals. Like, the ceilings, I mean, the sky's the limit with Eiserman. Trevor Conley, he's got his problems on and off the ice. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for us at Dauber was that gold medal game against Canada in the U18 Worlds, where I was looking at that game specifically to see, okay, how does Trevor Conley handle do-or-die must-win scenarios? In the third period, with the game tied, he trucks through a guy's back, takes a 5-minute penalty in a game misconduct, and Canada just took over the game from there. So I'm not really convinced with his composure, his poise, but on skill alone, he's a top 10, top 15 prospect. Adam Juracek, who played in the Czech Pro League, he had a big injury this season to his knee at the World Juniors, which kind of forced him out of the lineup for the second half of the year. So that kind of muddied the projection, but also his tape before that in the Czech Pro League was really not good. But we're banking on what we saw from him at the Hlinka Gretzky. We're banking on what we saw from him last year in the Under-20 League. I think that's the real Adam Juracek, this mobile, rangy, physical, violent right-handed defenseman who has some decent tools to work with. And he's the younger brother of David Juracek, who was picked like 3rd overall last year, or in 2022 rather. So there's a lot to work with here. I think the Flames need real upside with their mid-round picks. They're probably going to go for these safe, translatable forwards or defensemen with their first 2 picks. So if we're looking at guys at 41 and 62 that I would target if I'm them, Justin Poirier would be the first one. We actually have him ranked at 41st overall in our rankings. Poirier has the second best shot in the draft after Cole Eiserman. Like, his shot is ridiculous. So he's got that goal scoring upside where I think he could score 30, 35 goals in the NHL. But on top of that, he's a pest. He's aggressive. He's a cheap shot artist. He always gets away with it. 5'8", 180 pounds, but he plays twice his size. I love his game. We're big fans of Dobber prospects. And at 62nd overall, it really does depend on who's available. But I think if John Mustard slips to 62nd, first and foremost, I mean, best name in the draft, right? John Mustard. That's just amazing. And he's another really good goal scoring winger. His bread and butter is just blistering up the ice with his pace, and then using that kind of Austin Matthews curl and drag shot to roof it top corner. So if you could get those 2 hauls in your second round, that's a really, really good haul, and that adds 2 really good goal-scoring pieces in the Calgary Flames system, which I think is one thing that's kind of lacking. But if they choose to go for a defenseman, there's a couple options that I think I would target, the main one being Cole Hudson. The Flames really need a high upside offensive catalyst on the back end. They've been collecting these big defensive defensemen like their Pokemon cards at this point. I just think they need to add like one piece in there that works in terms of just being a creative facilitator. And what better to do that than Lane Hudson's younger brother? I think that's a great option for them to add to their system.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, that Poirier pick would be awesome. I mean, his brother is already in our organization, and so that would be cool to have both of them in Calgary. So thank you, Hadi. That was awesome. I'll let you go now. Thank you for your insight. And everyone go check out his work both on Twitter. Actually, you can drop your handles and where
Absolutely. It's HadiK_scouting. That's HADIK_scouting. Everything I post goes there. So whether it's my videos from my YouTube channel or the podcast episodes or all rankings and all that stuff, all articles, it's the one-stop shop if you want to follow along with my work. Just go follow me on Twitter.
Awesome. And with that, thank you for listening. Go Flames, go.